Any way you look at it, life is about relationships. Jesus expresses this when he gives the two greatest commandments, which is, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. It's about your relationship with God and your relationship with other people. Unfortunately, we are around people that have bad attitudes, bad characteristics, and bad habits that they influence on us that may make you go a little bit
crazy.
And another negative thing about this is that there are people with those characteristics and you can't change them. This reminds me of a story that I recently heard about a woman in her church, and she was disgruntled. She was upset. She goes to the pastor after the service at the front of the church and says, "Pastor, I've had enough. My family and I are leaving the church. We're going somewhere else." She said, "I just can't stand going to church here anymore. There's too many hypocrites. There's too many people that are living double standards, and I don't want to be a part of it." The pastor smiled and said, "Sister, I know exactly how you feel because I feel the same way sometimes too." His little boy was standing close by and he said, "Son, will you go get me a glass of water that's filled almost all the way to the top?" And the little boy took off. The pastor said, "Sister, before you leave, will you just do one thing for me?" She said, "Sure, Pastor, what is it?" His little boy ran up with the glass of water, and the pastor took the glass of water and said, "Sister, would you take this glass of water and walk around this part of the sanctuary and back to me and make sure that you don't spill a drop of this glass of water?" The lady thought it was sort of strange, but she said, "Sure, I'll do it, Pastor." The lady took the glass of water, held it like this, and she began to walk around the sanctuary watching the glass of water. Eventually, she came all the way back around to the pastor, handed him the glass and said, "Here you go, Pastor. I didn't spill a drop." He said, "That's wonderful, sister. Can you tell me what I was doing up here while you were walking around with the glass of water?" She said, "No, Pastor, I can't because I was focusing on not spilling the water." He said, "You know, that's the way that life is sometimes. That's the way that relationship is sometimes. That's the way church is. That's the way your job is sometimes. If you will focus on your task, your duty, your calling, and forget about what everybody else is doing, then what everybody else is doing won't matter so much and won't hinder you from what you're supposed to be doing." The lady got her family, went home. That night before she went to bed, knelt down and prayed and said, "God, show me. Show me what's going on in my life." God spoke to her heart and showed her that she had been selfish and had been focusing on others' faults and problems instead of trying to help them. She found a local soup kitchen where she began to volunteer every Saturday morning. Share the gospel with people. She went back to church, she served happily, and when all those other hypocrites began to see what she was doing on Saturday mornings, it motivated them to get their lives right with God and go out and start contributing in the ministry also. There's some people in life that you can't change, but there's one thing that you can change, and that's you. I know it's frustrating, I know it's discouraging, but I want to encourage you to look deep down inside of yourself and say, what is it in me that's hindering my life? What is it that I'm supposed to be focused on that everyone else has me distracted from? Because when you identify that and you begin to work on that, everything else won't matter as much, and you'll be able to grow and fix that small percentage in you, and then therefore you can help fix everybody else. And I don't mean maybe. Jesus gave a great illustration when he said, "Why don't you get the log out of your eye before you try to get the speck out of somebody else's eye?" And I'm not saying that you have a log in your eye, but you may have a speck in your eye that you need to work on getting out. There may be a little problem that's hindering you, and if you take care of that, you can help somebody else take care of theirs. When you start to change, that's when you'll see others begin to change. Be the change that you want to see in others. So I want to ask you right now, is there something in your life that you can look deep down inside? 10%. Is there 10% of your life that you could make better? Is there 10% of your life that you could work on? Why don't you write it down right now? Is it in your work life? Is it in your physical life? Is it in your spiritual life? Is it in your mental capacity, what you're doing, what you're learning? Where could it be? If you can identify just that 10% and work on it, then that'll change everything. This is Chaplain Reece signing off. I want to encourage you to be everything you can be for God. Don't forget that I love you and appreciate you. Don't forget to read your Bible and pray every day. And I'll see you in the next video.